Here is some offcuts. Today we're going to be doing a different style of video. Today we're going to be explaining a finish that I use, the right and wrong way to use it, and the best thing about it. So let's talk about it. This is the stain in question. As you can tell by the video title, it's not a stain at all. It is a clothing dye. So the reason I started using this, money. I'm pretty broke. So when someone first told me about this stain, I was a little bit skeptical. Being a new woodworker, not knowing what to do, and it seemed too good for the price. And I learned the hard way on the right way to use this. So this video is a demonstration of how to use it properly. We've got 3 samples here, and we're going to go through each one. So I've labeled up these offcuts. These offcuts, by the way, are from a previous video that I will link up here. It's a great video if you just do the weekends and you want to make a little bit of extra money on the side. It's a great video, great little project, takes very little time, and you can earn a decent amount off of it. Enough rambling though, we're talking about this video and this stain. So what we're going to do now, we're going to mix the stain up. I'm going to show you the correct way to mix it. So let's go. So what you want to do is find a suitable container. This is what I use. It's just an old coffee pot. And what I would recommend you doing is doing a bunch of test pieces on different ratios of water to powder to find the color you like, and then take that percentage and make it every single time you want to stain something. Personally, I eyeball it because I've done this a bunch of times. I usually get the color right straight away. But if you add too much of this, it can go really, really dark. If you add too little, it can go very orangey. So what I like to do for a full can of this stuff, we're not going to make a full can in this episode because we're only staining this. We're going to just do roughly that much. So we're just filling the bottom of the can. So now, with this much in there, I'm going to be filling up about this much with hot water. Now, you have to mix this with hot water. If you just put normal water in it, the crystals won't dissolve into the actual solution. So, hot water, and I think it's best to apply it with hot water. You can apply it when it's cooled down. You have to mix it hot. You can apply it when it's cool. I prefer to do it hot. I think you get the best look when it is hot. I think it penetrates deeper into the wood, but that could just be a whole placebo effect. So I'm going to quickly grab some hot water, fill this up, and we're going to apply it to the wood, and I'll show you how to apply it. Right, so one of the things I really like about this stain is it's so easy to apply. Now, there are rights and wrong ways of doing it. I wouldn't go ahead and just start splashing it on there because some parts can soak in deeper than others and it can come out a bit blotchy. But it is very forgiving, is what I'm trying to say. So, just for example, put that on there. And you see how this part here, it's blodged up. Give it a second, let it all dry up and stuff. And then let's go back over it and you'll see what I'm talking about. You can see right there how it's darker. But if you just keep going back and forward with it, keep going over it, it evens out. You can see it's no longer there. Let me go grab a rag. And as you can see, that blotch is no longer there, but you don't want to let it sit for too long. Now, what I'd get a really nice quality brush to do this with, something that soaks it up, it doesn't drip, but comes on really nice. So you can do nice even strokes all the way across and not get any of that blotchiness. You can see down here how I've gone with a few strokes, how it's gone like that. If I just keep going backwards and forwards, applying the whole thing, it'll all even out very nicely. I'm going to go ahead and do this to the rest of them. And after you've applied it and it's soaked in for a little bit, let's go ahead, give it a little wipe. And that's them now dyed and stained. But because we've used water and this is very liquidy, we have introduced moisture into these bits of wood. So if you're working with a really thin table or wood that is very stressed, you might find the wood and stuff will move around on you, might get some warpiness. So take that into caution when doing these bits. But for bits of wood that are nice and chunky and thick, that are nice and dry, and that you know are pretty much stable, then this is perfectly fine. What I would suggest if you are doing it on a thinner table is maybe just dampening the edgy cloth with it, just going around in circles and just only getting that top layer instead of paintbrushing it on. But brushing it on, not only is it easier, but it's a lot quicker. And you can see as well in these examples, because these are just scrap pieces of wood, I didn't sand them up all the way. If you don't sand them perfectly, you can see all these little blotchy marks from where it's a lot rougher. Because if you sand this rough, it'll be a lot darker because it will soak in more to the wood. If you sand it really, really high up, it won't soak in as much and it won't absorb as much of this. So make sure you do a really good sanding job. But right now, what we're going to do, because we've introduced moisture into these, we are going to let these rest until they are bone dry. And then we'll get on to the important part. So we have left it a day. These are all nice and dry now. Unfortunately, what I wanted to happen hasn't happened. This is like the best outcome when using this. But usually every single time you do this stain, you will get like white crystally sort of patches. And I wanted to say to you, not to worry. All you need to do is get a damp cloth. And when I say damp, I mean like really, really like almost dry cloth. And then you just rub the surface of it. Come straight off. But we haven't got that, obviously. These are all turned out decent. There's no like white spotches or anything anywhere. So I won't be able to show you that. But dead easy. You just go over with a damp cloth and it gets it all done. But the next thing I want to show you involves putting the rest of the finish on this, because this only dyes the wood, doesn't protect it. This is still just as vulnerable as this part here. So we're going to do 3 different methods. We're going to leave this one raw. We're going to use hard wax on this one, and we're going to put a hard varnish on this one. So let's quickly do all that. First one, hard wax oil. And of course, we'll leave this one raw. By the way, if you are going to use a lacquer or any sort of like varnish or anything like that, I can't recommend getting a spray gun enough. It is so hard trying to get a nice finish, especially with this, because this sands away very easily. So if you have a very thin layer of lacquer and you accidentally break that layer as you're sanding in between coats, you will scuff it, ruin it, have to sand everything back and start again. So spray gun, it's perfect, leaves a nice surface. And all you do in between coats, grab some 600 to 1000 grit sandpaper, go over the surface just to take the little nubby bits off, and any specks of dust that might have landed on it, take them off. Do your next layer, perfect. So if you're going to be using a lot of lacquer, which if you're going to be using this finish, you probably will be, get yourself a spray gun. They're like 40 quid. It'll pay for itself in the long run. But yeah, we're going to let these dry now, and I will show you the biggest con about using this. Everything is nice and dry now. The hard wax is done, varnish is done, and obviously the raw, we've just left it raw. And I'm going to show you the biggest downfall of this sort of stain. So when your customers come to cleaning the tables, they're going to be using a lot harsher chemicals than water they'll probably be using like furniture spray, maybe just normal kitchen cleaner and stuff like that. You know, people are just going to use whatever they are to clean it. And just to demonstrate how bad this is, I've just got a bit of water here. So starting off with a clean cloth, as you can see. Let me dab this in some water. Just rub around here for a bit. Well, you can't really you can't really tell. Oh, I should have thought about this. Can you see it here? Oh yeah, there you go. You can see it properly now. The dye just comes off. This is with the hard wax. It just comes off just rubbing with water. And you can see here it's slightly lighter there. So you can't use hard wax for this, which is quite annoying because a lot of people like the feeling of the wood and you get to feel the wood. With a varnish, you can't feel the wood. It just feels like plastic. But obviously, let me choose another cleaner part. Get this all nice and wet. Where's a clean part? There's a clean part. If we rub this, we're never going to get anything come off it. Which is why I use varnish on this sort of stuff. Because, well, yeah, it's a very hard barrier between it. It locks it into the wood and you'll never get any brownness coming off. And obviously for the raw, as you can see, it just comes off straight away. As you can see, the patches there. So that's the biggest downfall. If you are going to use anything, I would use this. But a little experiment that I want to do, which is why I created this raw piece, is if we take some normal wood glue and some water and mix it together, and let's just get a rag and put the top layer on, I want to see if this solution of glue and water will lock in the top surface and you might be able to still feel the wood. This isn't based off anything, this is just curiosity. So water and wood glue, we've put it on the raw piece. We're going to let that set up and I'll get back to you once it's fully dry and we'll do the rub test again to see if anything comes off. Right, so we're back. Everything's nice and dry now. We'll do this again. I've got a damp paper towel. Let's see if the wood glue and water did anything. So we're going to go here. We're just going to give it a quick wipe. Now we can still see the dye is showing up on the rag. And if you see here, nice and clean. Nothing's coming up on that. The hard wax, we can see the brown coming through. So that's a little insight into the stain or clothing dye that I use. I hope this video was helpful to anyone looking for some nice stains on a budget. You don't just have to use this color. The color I use is espresso brown. You can use any color and get really creative with it however you want, but you will have to lock it in with a varnish or some sort of other hard coating rather than like a hard wax or leaving it raw. So varnish is the way to go. Here are some projects that I've done before using this color so you can see how, you know, nice it shows up and what it looks like on an actual table. I really like it. I think it's a good rustic look and you can put a nice modern twist on it in a lot of other different ways. But that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you like this sort of style of video. I'm thinking about turning it into a series, you know, let's talk about it, where I show different techniques and different things, different tools I use in the workshop. And we have a talk about it and a discussion about it. So if you got any cheap finishes you use, put it down in the comments. Maybe one day we can go through it, put it through its paces. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.